About a year or so ago, I had did a video on this actress named Moses Ingram, who is a black actress, and she was on the show Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus, and she played a very interesting character on the show. And how she was met with backlash. First, it was her character that got met with backlash, but then when I started to really look into what they were saying about the character, and then starting to see what they were saying about her, and they said, oh, they didn't like her acting and this, that, and the third. Fine, but then when they started to really like go even harder, I said, okay, we see what this is. Because see, a lot of people in that fandom, which by the way, Star Wars fandom is probably one of the worst fandoms ever, and I do mean ever. When they go and start to nitpick even more, we can start to see exactly where they are headed with this rhetoric. And it's usually in a particularly anti-black space, and they usually dwell in that space. It got so bad that Ewan McGregor, who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi, had to come out and defend her, and it got even worse for him because he ended up catching strays because he wasn't on code and for them didn't say anything. If he didn't say anything, that would have been fine with them. They would have been preferred that he had let her catch all these strays, but because he came and defended her, they got so upset because he read them their rights and told them about themselves. They got mad at him. And I remember how all of that just kind of like went down. And I said the Star Wars fandom is one of the worst fandoms ever, and they have a lot of anti-blackness about themselves. I mean, if you really look, like really dig deep into it, you can find it. Which brings me now fast forward to this. Now, for those of you who don't know or never heard of this show called House of the Dragons, it's a spin-off of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones had a 8-season run, even though that 8th season left a lot to be desired. Anybody who watched it knows exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the original Game of Thrones series only had, to my knowledge, 2 melanated characters. 2. One of them was a man who basically was a eunuch, and the other one was basically like a handmaiden to the Mother of Dragons. So it's like they were the epitome of a side character. But now you have this spin-off called House of the Dragon, which is a prequel to Game of Thrones that happens like hundreds of years before what goes on in Game of Thrones, where now you have this family who are Targaryens. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, Targaryens is a very, very popular and interesting set of characters. Family, I should say, within the Game of Thrones universe. And these Targaryens happen to be black. I think these are the most black characters that we've seen in this lore. And when I found out and saw that these pictures from the first season, I already knew what was going to happen. And sure enough, if y'all don't remember, it was they had tried to make it a controversial thing with having, you know, these characters be black even back in the first season, but now it's kind of died down, but now it's kind of like resurfacing again with this actress right here who's on the show, and her name is Bethany Antonia, and she plays the character of Baela Targaryen. She is a very interesting character. She also has her own dragon called the Moon Dancer, and we all know that when you see them dragons, that's the biggest highlight of the show. After all, the show is called House of the Dragons. Even in Game of Thrones, seeing the dragons come to life the way that they did, especially with the technology nowadays, looked very realistic. But this woman received a very nasty DM from some troll on her Instagram account, which I'm going to put on the screen right now. So as you can see right here, this is from her Instagram account. It says Bethany Antonia. That's her page. And this is the person right here. They only have 27 followers, 0 posts, and it says they don't follow each other on Instagram, which would of course make sense. So this person said, and this is the comment, "Nigga, you look like a piece of shit. It's a miracle they even included you in the trailer. But we don't care. I hope you accidentally die on the set." So this person not only was extremely anti-black to this woman who has done absolutely nothing to whoever this is, and she doesn't know who this is from a can of paint, nor do they know her, but they also wish death on her. Now, one will assume that maybe it's something the character did that they did not like from the previous season, but at the same time, to come at this person like that, it's deeper than for them than just this character. And if you had that much of an issue with whatever this character did that apparently maybe possibly pissed you off, there was other ways you could have aired out your grievances than writing this DM to this person saying you wish that they would just die. And that's another thing that I have a problem with when it comes to these fandoms, is that they take so much of fantasy, especially these PC ones, and literally engulf it into a reality thing. Remember what Megyn Kelly said about Santa Claus? Remember I talked about that a couple weeks ago when she said, oh, Santa Claus is white. Why is he white? Oh, because he just is. Keep in mind, Santa Claus isn't even real. And you have this woman who was in her 40s at the time. I don't know how old Megyn Kelly is, but I'm assuming at the time she was in her early 40s maybe, sitting up here saying something you would expect well, first off, I don't even expect a little kid to even say that. The most they'll say is that Santa Claus is real, and that's about it. But this woman actually said that Santa Claus is white because he just is. But that's the typical fandom right there. Now, the way she decided to clap back at it in this same post, as you can see, she says, wait till they find out I'm gay too, and then put the clown emoji behind it. So she's basically, this is her way of quote unquote clapping back at the troll, but she wasn't done just yet from this post. So this is another post that she made. I'm guessing, I'm not sure, like it looked like she's at some kind of a party, and this is what she says: y'all won't ruin this first glimmer of dragon joy for us Negroes. So I guess that was a post that she made after the one that you just saw. So that was her way of clapping back at the person that said what they said. But this goes into a much deeper discussion than just what she was sent as far as that DM, or even when I was bringing up Moses Ingram and her role in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. These people who always have something to say about black characters in these type of shows or movies or anything with sci-fi or fantasy, they always complain about, don't race swap these characters, why can't they make original black characters, and this, that, and the third. And then you get these original black characters that are created, and they still find an issue with it. That is why when they do the whole race swapping thing, I don't get up in arms about it, because when they create original characters, they do the same damn thing. They just don't want to see black characters on that screen, especially if they upstage a white character. So I'm not shocked by that. And like I said, I don't lose my mind over it either. I really don't. And really, black people, I don't want to feel like I'm speaking for you either, but you shouldn't even get up in arms about the whole, when they say, oh, they do the whole, race swapping thing, because they'll get upset again if it's an original black character. All the time they will find a way to make it an issue every single time, because there's no satisfying them, and it shouldn't be. We are not here to satisfy them whatsoever. They are always going to be up in arms about something. Remember, we live now in a world where you have people like Tucker Carlson, who has a wealth amount of privilege, crying about some quote unquote anti-whiteness. And Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk and Matt Walsh and all of them. Y'all know, because I just did a live stream talking about it. So if they'll get upset about that, this right here shouldn't surprise anybody. You have them up there literally criticizing black athletes, calling them thuggish arrogance, or displaying thuggish arrogance for showing off a chain and their attire. You have them up there criticizing black people, how they talk, and calling them uneducated. So that's why I say don't even bother trying to appease them. This is why Rob over at Blacklight Revelations tells black people all the time to embrace villainy, because if they're deemed as the heroes, then what the hell are we supposed to be seen as? So kudos to this young lady, this young woman, for, snagging that season 2 of a very widely popular and, very worldwide phenomenon of a show. Or one that's attached to a worldwide phenomenon as it is Game of Thrones. And I'm sure her fans heavily outweigh whoever that troll was. And you know what's so crazy about some of these trolls is that they create these burner accounts literally within days just to troll people. I should know because it's happened to me several times, whether on X or on here. It is absolutely pathetic the lengths they will go to quote unquote try to hurt our feelings. And that's really what it all boils down to, because they ain't got nothing else better to do. They are bored. Their lives are meaningless. While this woman is out here thriving, they're sitting back, letting life pass them by. And it's crazy because, like I said, this not just happened to her, Moses Ingram. You can throw in Caleb McLaughlin on Stranger Things. You can talk about John Boyega when it came to Star Wars. Amandla Stenberg when it came to the Hunger Games. And then when you tell people about the situation at hand, they just tell you to get over it, or tell us to get over it. Amazing, right? It just simply amazing of the complete tone deafness of it all. But I'm not surprised, nor am I shocked by it. That's why it's so easy for me to come on here and talk about this, because they are like one-trick ponies. They really ever vary from the script. This is just who they are. And I'm glad, in a way, I'm kind of glad she handled it the way she did, because I know if she would have handled it in a way that some others would have did, they would have called her the angry black woman. Those comments would have came in. They would have said, oh, stop being so sensitive. You should be happy and humble that you're on this hit television show. And of course, they would have pocket watched her. They would have talked about how much money she was making. They did the same thing with LeBron James. They did the same thing with Floyd Mayweather. All the time. So, as far as that troll goes, that's all they have. All they have to their name is 27 followers on Instagram. That's all they have.